right, y'all, man. Special edition of Amped in the house, because we still all locked in on quarantine and whatnot. Angie Ange checking in, and I've been hitting up all my folks in the Gogo community. We had a great idea to speak to a lot of the major lead mics in the Gogo community, because a lot of times we see them on stage and you see them perform, but you never get a chance to really get to hear their story, hear from them, hear their perspectives. And you know, these are the people that have been the soundtracks of our lives for so long. So today I've got a great friend of mine, a man that I just love, and one of my favorite bands, UCB. We got Trey B Face, as I like to call him, aka Trey at UCB checking in.
Yes, sir.
Trey, how are you doing, man?
I'm good.
What is quarantine life like for you, or how has it been for you?
I'm gonna say bittersweet. I mean, you know, since we move around on the road so much, you don't really get like to ever sit down and gather yourself or regroup or handle certain affairs. But like, I'm gonna say the first few weeks it was cool, but after that, I can't just keep sitting here.
You gotta make a move.
We had a full calendar for spring summer touring with Wale. And that we had all the festivals, everything, but then everything just canceled indefinitely. Well, some stuff was postponed, but you don't know.
Yeah. So for an artist, like, you know, because especially when that happened, like that's a lot of money out of the pocket, or deposits and things like that.
Yeah, that's bad. Very bad. It was about to be a good summer.
You feel good about the summer?
It was about to be.
Oh, it was about to be.
About to be a good summer for everybody.
Yeah. So what do you think, like, as far as have you had time to digest like what a new wave will be for artists as far as the ability to perform or make money performing?
Yeah. You know, the in-studio performances that they stream and stuff like that, that's probably going to get very popular. People going to have some good records that they hopefully can get some good streams from, so they could get some, you know, residuals from royalties and stuff like that. But I mean, 10 years ago, Wale was one of the first artists that was streaming his shows on Ustream.
Good old Ustream.
His live shows on Ustream, and he had crashed a couple of back when he was crashing sites with his mixtape releases and stuff like that.
So y'all had already been doing that.
He kind of headed the wave with the streaming.
Are you guys? Have you all done anything like that yet? Or are you looking to do that coming up?
They told me we were supposed to do something like that this weekend, but I don't know. I guess the plans got changed.
Yeah. All right. Well, one of the things I want to take it back to the beginning with you, Trey. I mean, here's the thing: like all the lead mics that we've been talking to, what makes you very unique, in my opinion, very special, is your experience for your band is a lot different than most, because you all didn't necessarily remain local. You're always going to be home is always going to embrace UCB, but you managed to connect with Wale and then have been his band and travel with him all over, and you all continue to make music. So can we go back? I want to go back because I was probably in high school when I first started rocking out to UCB. So let's take it back to like the formation of UCB, and then we're gonna go into like Sexy Ladies, which you know became like a legit ass.
I should make it as quick as possible. So I'm actually not the lead mic. I just had that. I just probably was the most visible. So you know, you know, a lot of people gave me the association of like the lead man for the group because I was the most visible. Rock Mikey's actually the lead mic. So we all come from the inner city, Washington D.C. Most of us from uptown. A lot of us from the same neighborhood, and we
Which
started.
Is uptown.
I mean, it's all over, kind of like like the Rock Creek, 640 Morton Street area, and Georgia Avenue, 14th Street, all up and down. But mostly, all of us are kind of like was around like majority of uptown. And then I had family all over. A lot of us had family all over the city, so we was everywhere. Mm-hmm. And we started in about 95, 96, and we was successful like fast and early. Like, we was headlining shows and at the Black Hole and the Lapina, and like 97. Like our first year, we was having like 800-900 people at every show, 4 nights a week. You know what I mean? I probably was in like 9th grade or something like that. And coming
I was about to ask, how old were you then, man?
Yeah,
95, 96 put me around like elementary school.
I was probably like in 96, 97. I probably was in like 9th grade. So yeah.
So you were in the band. Y'all had started the band as high schoolers or middle schoolers?
Well, we had first started in like middle school, but it wasn't serious. And then in high school was when we really started, and that's when I named the band Uncalled For. But back then, a lot of people that was a different name. So the abbreviation was UCB. So a lot of people just it was easier for them to just say UCB instead of Uncalled For band. Mm-hmm. So and we kind of like started that alphabet soup shit that I kind of regret, because like Backyard and Junkyard, you would or Northeast Groovers, you would occasionally say NEG or BYB, but that wasn't what they would go by. You would say Groovers or Back or Jump. You know what I mean? We were the ones that it was like UCB, and then 4 and 5 years later, when TCB first started, which a lot of people don't know, that I helped start that band. Me and Eric, the drummer for UCB, we helped Polo start his band. He used to cut our hair.
Really? I never knew that.
Yeah, he was a barber. He didn't really have a musical background or thing. He just had determination. You know what I mean? He wanted it. He didn't need money or nothing because Polo was rich. He just wanted the popularity and just wanted to do it for the fun. He used to tell us, when he used to cut our hair, man, I want to do that. So, we took them under the wing for a few years. And then after about 2 years, I guess he felt like he figured it out, which he didn't, but he did eventually figure it out down the road. And our relationship just got way better because he used to call me and say everything I used to try to tell him or forewarn him about, it was coming to light, and he was starting to really figure it out. And I was proud of him when they finally made their when they found their niche with the bounce beat. Yeah, because it was something new and that they contributed to the culture. Because like a lot of bands, see, for a while they sounded like other people. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And for UCB, that's not I personally don't respect any imitators. I don't really respect it. Now you might be influenced by somebody, but when you don't have your own identity, it's hard for me to have a respect. And then when I called him, when they really found their niche, and I was like, there it is. Like I'm proud of you all, But I'll get into that. But about 96, 97, we headlined the shows all over at the biggest venues.
Now, how are you guys doing this as middle school and high schoolers? Like, did you have a manager, and how did you start getting your notoriety, from a middle school standpoint? Did people take you guys seriously when you're performing? Well,
middle school, that we didn't really play. We would just, we never had, when we was in middle school, that was when the idea came about, and we were just like messing around. But it wasn't until a couple of years later that we really actually, did it. And that's why I was saying that we named ourselves. In high school, I mean, we was adults really in high school, growing up in the murder capital. we was already, you know what I mean? And then the popularity, I was telling Boosie Vegas the other day. I was telling him, he asked me about how did we have that early success? And I was like, I don't think a lot of people understand, like, we didn't have a following because of the music. We was some shit in them early years. We had a following because us individually had followers. We already was popular through sports and through the streets and family associations and ties. Like, whatever we did, people was going to support in the beginning. And then as we cultivated our craft and our sound, that's when it expanded. So it started to be people that, well, I always explain the difference between fans and supporters. Supporters are people you know, or people that are mutual friends or mutual associates of people you know that come support. Fans are people that you've never met in your life, and they want to come and buy a ticket or come see you. You know what I mean? So a lot of young artists, they get it mistaken when they think they have might have a following, but it's not fans yet. It's just supporters. And they never graduate or never get over that hump, you know. So we just had we had a crazy following. We was crazy popular, like I said, from sports and in school. All of us went to different schools. You know, it was 10 people in the band. So that was that's just something that's innate, like a it factor thing that you have to have to be able to have that, to be able to have people that follow you or just you, regardless of what you're doing.
Did you feel like UCB was going to like stand the test of time, as far as like, was this something that you saw yourself doing forever and ever?
So I think when we got about 16, we had we used to rehearse a lot. We had a conversation in rehearsal, and I said, yo, if at the time Backyard was like taking over Gogo at the time, and they were playing like a heavy timbali influenced sound, like Rototoms and timbales. You know, if anybody knew Gogo before, it was mostly congos. Like you might have had Dig Dug or Essence, you know, touch them here and there, but the overall sound was not that of the Rototoms. That's a Backyard thing that they coined. So, you know, all of the younger people after them, that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to have that type of strong sound. But like I told you earlier, we always wanted to stand on our own and have an independent, and have something that was just independent of us, our own identity. So I said, if we're going to play a lot of timbales, first of all, they have to be distinctive. And they have to be our own beats. It can't just sound like a whole bunch of noise and shit. All that shit, like, that's not, to me, that's not music. Now, that's no knock on all those young, that's just noise. You know what I mean? You have to be able to sound them out. Like, you could sound out our beats with your mouth. Like, you could sound out a Sauce beat. Like, dunk, 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 dunk. Like, it's locked in. You know what I mean? Like, with the drum syncopation. I said we have to have our own beats. They have to be distinctive, and we have to have our own songs. Like like everything that people know that knew of UCB or sang along with, we made it.
Yeah, original.
Or I wrote it. Like your PSOPs, your Married to Joannas, your Splash Girls, and all of that. Like, that's not radio stuff. So when you go and you go to somebody outside the area, and they say, "Oh, yeah, I heard of Gogo," or "I heard of this band or that band." And they say, "Oh yeah, sing me one of their songs." What you gonna say? Somebody neighborhood? Like, you can't, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the approach that we took. Like, we would always try to find a way to condense that groove into a 3-minute format to be on the radio or to be palatable from somebody that's not from this area. That was our goal from the get-go. And then the last thing was the distinctive beats, the original material. And I always used to say, like I said in other interviews all the time, there's no knock to the bands that came before us that play here 5 nights a week. You know what I mean? I always felt like if I make it to my 30s and I'm still playing at Club U or the Classics or the Black Hole or all that, we failed. I never wanted to do that. Just play like, and that was from the beginning.
Right.
Because like, that's what they did. We coming after them. We supposed to take it further and do it bigger. You know what I'm saying? Because for me, that wasn't success.
Yeah.
So that's, you know what I mean? That's why, like, now, like, when UCB broke up 10 years ago almost, that's why we had a reunion show, 2 reunion shows in 2014, and that was it.
Out.
Yeah, and that was it. Some of the guys wanted to keep doing it. That's what they wanted to do. Not even some, it was only a few. But like 8 of us are not with that group that continues to play as UCB. So like I don't feel like that's how, you know, I feel like some things that was special, you just leave it be. It's a novelty now, you know, and then you could come around and you could revisit it for reunions. Like, you have a family reunion every year with your family. It's amazing. You don't see them and talk to them and all that for the rest of the year. You know what I mean? Some you do, some you don't. But, you know, and I think that I never wanted to subject people that grow older, the people that supported us all these years, fans and supporters, they grow older. They have careers. They have children. Their lifestyle changed. Some of their standards changed. I don't want to subject these same people to the environments that they were in at 16 and 17. Supper clubs turned into spots and all that. Like, come on now. When you got real venues around now, like, you know, that you have to give, the presentation has to be up to par with with people's your following. Like, I always feel like that's stealing. Now somebody else, they may differ, but you charging people 40 and 50 and shit, they get in the go-go, where get into a bowling alley, turn into a club, and you could pay 30 to go to the Constitution Hall to see a national act. Like, I just don't like that. Like, that's not my thing. So that's, and
I feel like you've also been exposed. I mean, I think the fact that you had a different vision, I definitely I get that. Like, I know when I was doing radio, I used to tell myself, like, after 30, I don't want to keep hosting clubs. So I had a goal, because I would see people that were in their 40s on up, you know, or other talents that were still in the club. You still doing the drinks. And like you said, I don't think it's not a knock on anybody. It's more like you said, you had a different vision. You could see that you saw what had been done, and you had
and you're supposed to come. If you're younger, you're supposed to come and do better
and do
more. You're supposed to take it further, like evolve or die. You know what I mean? So
and I think it's kind of your own way, because I do feel like you said, it kind of comes down to what is your personal goal and vision, as opposed to, you know, what that may be better to you. Where some people, like, again, being able to consistently perform in certain venues and consistently draw those crowds, that is continued success, because we know that, like, sometimes everybody don't stick with you forever. Or
it is, Angie, but here's where it starts to get a little sketchy. When the people that do that complain about why they haven't made it bigger or been further. Right,
that's true.
And they don't never look at themselves and self-reflect. Like, yo, all those groups that do that, they don't commit to these residencies in the same 30-mile radius for years, and never record, and never put out records, and never go penetrate other markets. Like, how do you penetrate a market? Either by a song, a record, which a lot of go-go bands don't make, or if they do, they're not up to par. Like, they're not good. And a lot of people don't want to be real with themselves, because we made a lot of records that was some shit to me. You know what I mean? I don't have no problem saying if something is not, you know, up to par, even if we made it or I made it. Like, and then you either have to penetrate that market with a record, or you have to go there and perform. That's what we used to do. So I'm going to take it back to the late 90s and the early 2000s. Me and Rock Mikey used to go. We was like some of the only people in Go-Go that would go to those H2Os and those Platinums and those Loves and grab the mic and perform our Go-Go. We was trying to penetrate another market. A lot of those club goers were from different cities, going to college here. They weren't really in the Go-Go's. You know, then there was a lot of people that weren't, back then, their parents wouldn't let them go to the Go-Go's. They didn't feel like it was a controlled, safe environment. So how do we get in front of those people? Well, we're going to have to take our records that we used to have, that was our music, your VSOPs, and we would perform them in those clubs. So we would be in the Go-Go's 5 nights a week, but we will also be in the clubs, not with the entire band, but with the 2 guys on the front and the record, trying to extend the audience. And I must say around 2003 was when we was about to sign to Roc-A-Fella. Kenny Burns Kenny and Dame came. Dame wanted us bad. Like, they used to come to our shows and stuff like that. And I mean, you remember Dame was signing everybody. He signed Dipset. He came and he was trying to sign a lot of people in the Mid-Atlantic region because he wanted Roc-A-Fella to expand and extend, which was kind of genius. But they came and they was looking for somebody. The criteria was they was looking for somebody that was young and had original material and that was marketable. The only group at that time that even fit that description was us. But TCB, this was their that moment when they were starting to heat up and was getting popular. So a lot of people, I'm gonna say, for lack of a better term, like gatekeepers, like your DJs and radio personalities and club owners and promoters, they was pushing for that to be them because we didn't have the best rapport with us because we was a little, edgy back then. We used to do a lot to promoters, and we was under investigation at the same time for a lot of stuff that always followed us from like our neighborhood and stuff that we was involved in early. So,
and what year is this?
It's like 2003.
Oh, 3. Okay.
Yeah. So, we was back and forth to New York with them and trying to get the deal done. And it was just a lot of confusion because of TCB. Like back then, TCB didn't have no original material. Matter of fact, all the guys that's in that group now, they weren't even there. They wasn't, nobody that was in the early years of TCB is around or is in that group now. Those dudes that's in the group now, they have no idea. Bo knows a little bit because when he came, he was already in a band. He already was, in the mix. And when he came to the group, actually, they kind of elevated. And they, that's when they started to kind of like, make their strides when Bo from TCB came to TCB. But then around that same time, I got shot. So it kind of like was a turn off a little bit too. And at the same time, simultaneously, Jay and Dame was having their issues too. Because I think they split in like the fall of 2003. They were in negotiations and talks in the spring and summer of that year. And in the fall, they separated. So all that went away. Fast forward, Kenny disappears. He goes and he does. Ryan Kenny puts the clothes in the Saks, the black-owned upscale clothing and Saks. Then for the next couple of years, we were banned. A lot of people didn't know a lot of this stuff. We was banned. At that time, we was under investigation. We was banned from playing in clubs. Nobody wanted to have us, And then we didn't really do the shucking and jiving with people. Like, that's how a lot of the time, it wasn't the best group or the group that had a great following that would get booked. It was who you was friends with or who was kissing your ass could get in the club a lot of the time. So
you sound like you guys weren't really good at networking.
We was good at networking, but we had a history. Like I told you, like a lot of the people that was the promoters or that was in those positions that was letting bands be in certain places, we had a little reputation that kind of followed us, which when we had our manager, Mr. Carter, came along, he kind of helped with that. Because he used to always say you can't have one foot in the street, one foot in music. You got to choose. Yeah. But in our early days, if a promoter owed us $100, we was chasing him down, and not in a nice way. Like we was young, you know what I mean? Coming from, like you never was going to disrespect us. And 16, 17, fresh, 16 and 17-year-olds fresh from the murder capital. You're not playing with us at all, with nothing. So that kind of he helped to get us out of that mind frame to get, you know, to become professionals and to really take the music seriously. So I think that
was he around when the Roc-A-Fella, when that deal was happening?
He came. At first, he didn't want to manage us. He said it was he heard too many stories, and you know. But then it was a blessing that he actually decided to. This was and we was already around for a few years, and we had a couple managers before that. Mm-hmm. But he, I still think that our no nonsense attitude with a lot of those dudes, it kind of like it wasn't a favorable thing to go with us than to go with, and then we weren't stupid. Like a lot of those other bands, they was just playing for the popularity or for the girls and all that kind of stuff. No, we was playing for the bottom line had to be straight too. You can't tell me I'm bringing 750 to 1,000 people somewhere and you gonna pay me this? Like, you crazy? Right. Like, you know, so we had that business together. So that's another thing. So that's why we did a lot of our own shows. We was 18 and 19 doing our own shows with no promoter. You know, the pilots, things like that.
Can I ask you, when the deal fell through for your record deal, like, how did you feel? You know, did you feel defeated? Were y'all just kind of like, we good, we would keep going?
We felt defeated because we hadn't heard of nothing like that since Trouble Funk and EU and Junkyard.
Right.
From having deals since the 80s. So, I mean, we definitely felt defeated because, like I said, I'm coming off, you know, all the crazy stuff about, you know, getting shot. They was hearing the stories about, you know, the homicide detectives following us around, that kind of stuff, which wasn't really like big. I mean, it wasn't really, we weren't broadcasting that back then, but it turned off. Like, we couldn't get nowhere. Nobody wanted to book us nowhere. Then club owners didn't even want to have us in there for a couple years. And then that's when, like, we kind of, a lot of us was real down, but that's when I made up Sexy Lady. And and it had been like 2 years of struggling to play places. 2, almost 3 years. I made up Sexy Lady, brought it to the group, told them how I wanted it to go. Eric made up the beat. Mike made up one of the most memorable raps in Gogo, and we put that out in like 2005, June 2005. That the Sexy Lady that y'all hear today is a live recording, and it was only like the second or third time we ever played it.
Wow!
And it was at our drummer Eric's birthday party.
Wow!
And it was at a club that was a beautiful restaurant called Yucca, and it used to be on the Connecticut Ave corridor before we really was even on that corridor. See, we already was trying to find, you know, more suitable venues that weren't your average venues. Like, it was real upscale and it was sexy. I think it was a Latin American restaurant, and they had water fountains and stuff in there. Like, we was trying to do that back then. So then after that, I mean, I pressed up about 10,000 copies, and we passed out about 10,000 free copies of Sexy Lady, and it was just one song on the CD. So you had no choice but to keep listening to it. You know, 93.9 got behind it first. Back then it was Malik and what was they? The Wild Boys?
Two-Face, yeah.
They the ones that premiered it. Wow. They was, you know, they got behind it first. And, you know, and Analyze and Alizé and Gemini, like, they really was like pushing the record. Definitely Analyze. Analyze helped break that record outside the area. Because he took it upon his own self to send it to other people because he felt like, this was one of those. Then I'm going to say I used to do youth advocacy work with a nonprofit in the DC jail in Oak Hill. I used to have a program. I used to help get the youngins out, you know, get them in school or get them a job. This back in from like 2003 to like 2008. I did that for like 5 years. But I ran into DJ Flex and Rico at DC jail one day for a meeting. The warden had a meeting with the leader of all the religious groups and nonprofits that used to come in DC jail. And they used to always want me there because I was the youngest and I had that platform. So I ran into Rico and Flex, and they just didn't even know I did that kind of work And I was like, yeah, we've been doing this, like squashing beefs, taking guns, and getting youngers on the right track. I used to have to go to court and testify on behalf of the youth to the judge, let them know that if you release them, that they're gonna be, under our watch and help them get out. That was our main goal, was helping them get out and get back, get their lives back. But Flex and Rico just was like, I didn't even know you did this kind of work. Like, what else you got going on? And I was a little reluctant because I didn't think that 95.5 like even fuck with us, because we had an incident, and this was we had an incident like 6 or 7 years before at 95 where we got banned from 95.5.
Oh, well, that would do it.
Yeah, so that was like when our first CD came out, and when Neighborhood Life came out.
You said what?
That was when our first CD came out, Neighborhood Life.
Okay.
Yeah, we had an incident with Tigger at the station, so we got banned.
That'll probably put you in position to not get a record played. Yeah, so that's possible.
I didn't even know, so I gave them like each of them like 5 or 10 copies a piece. And Flex called me like 2 days later, and he said, yo, this is what we need. Gogo needs this. I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure, so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. And then KYS was first with it, but Flex took it to another level.
Oh, yeah. He's the man when it comes to Gogo.
He took it to another level.
If he says it, it's done.
I'm going to say in 2006 was when Sexy Lady kind of reached its peak. Yeah. Like it had already been out for almost a year, but he took it to the next level. So that's how it had already been out for a year. This is a lesson to people that don't have patience when working a record that they know is something. Like sometimes it takes a while to make a record come to light. So it was that's when it started to get big, and that was 2006. And I was working the record in the nightclubs, even outside of the Go-Go, everywhere. Like even I think Mark Bonds or Taz, they told me that they hated Go-Go, but they love that song. And if anybody ever play any Go-Go note or tune in Dream or Love, it'd be me. They had tracked me down, like they was looking for me to tell me that, and I was like, people was calling me like, yeah, what you gonna need? I'm like, for what? Because I never really had a good rapport like with them, like going to that club, their club. I guess it wasn't my lane. I don't know at first, but they, they loved the record, and I would go work the record. Rock Mikey, who was the lead talker, the one that's rapping on there, he got locked up in the midst of that record growing. So I was by myself doing a lot of the leg work, and then we didn't know. See, we didn't capitalize off that like we should have. It wasn't no social media. It wasn't like, think if it was social media when Sexy Lady came out, that would have been huge. So yeah, we didn't know that Sexy Lady was in about 18 other markets around the country. And like I told you earlier, Analyze had already been sending it out to all these DJs everywhere else. And so it took a life of its own. It penetrated other markets on its own. It was nothing that we did, nothing a label did. We didn't hire anybody to work at that radio, no independent, private companies to work the record. It just took a life of its own. But we didn't know until years later, because we didn't have a BDS reports or nothing like that. We didn't have any of that. And that was around the same time where some of the guys in the group, as you get older, I guess they thought they had it. So we kind of had a divide where, they kind of didn't want to have a manager anymore.
Really?
Isn't
a manager an essential part of a band though?
Well, they didn't want to have our manager because he was a little older. So I think they felt like they wanted to have like a younger representation. But I'm like, that doesn't even matter. Like, it's not like he on the stage or nothing. So it was a couple of us that still wanted him. Like I wasn't with the vote to get rid of our manager because I knew that I was going to have to pick up the slack and do a lot of what he was doing. myself. Yeah, I didn't want to do that.
You already knew what that meant.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't. I'm not saying that they wanted me to do it, but I just knew what it took outside of the music. And you know, if you don't pay attention and you don't have that business acumen, you're not gonna understand. Like, bro, we need like, and he helped get us to this point. Like, why can he not, you know, enjoy the fruits of that? So, but anyway, with that dissension and then just not knowing, we didn't get to capitalize off that record. So we get a call, I'm gonna say the end of 2005, beginning of 2006, Kenny Burns shows back up. And he said, I want you to help my artists get known. And we're like, who? He was like, you don't know him. That's why we calling you to get, you know, to get known. Like, I need you to, you know, take him under the wing, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, at the time, we more so thinking like, yo, where has he been at? Like, you know, he just reappeared like a few years later.
It sounds like Kenny.
Yeah, but Kenny was like, man, Kenny always was a visionary. Kenny was like, he had quit the music business because he didn't never know to go with Dame or Jay. It was a, you know, a decision he had to make, and then he just ended up backing away from it totally. But he said he realized that his Rolodex is too extensive and too valuable to not use it and to have not broken somebody on a major level from here. Wow. That's why he came back here. And I guess he had found Wale at a talent show. But like at this time, we don't know who Wale is. We don't. So he calls and he asks us to help him. You know, get behind him.
Because this is Studio 43. That's when he has Studio 43. Yeah. It was like the brand or the label or something.
Right. So Alizé had already been, you know, been cultivating Wale. Yeah. You know, him and Iron and all of them was involved in that. And after we spoke to Kenny, we didn't speak to him too much. And a couple months had passed. And like I told you, I used to be doing the leg work for the record, working the record by myself. I go to Platinum to go fuck with Alizé. And this kid come up to me and he just started talking to me about how much of a fan he was and how like he's running shit off that you would have had to bend it to know. He like, yeah, y'all used to come in up against the wall and do this and that, and I would see y'all wearing the stuff the same night, and I was like, I didn't know who he was. I started to be like, who the fuck? And then I think he could see it on my face, and he was like, I'm Wale. And I'm like, who? He was like, nah, I'm Kenny artist. And I was like, oh, you the one that, you know, Kenny was talking about. And then after that, like we talked, and then Kenny flew in like a couple days later, and then he just told us what the play was. Yeah. And then I started taking Wale all around the city. Like,
well, you know what's crazy? Like I said, in 06 is when I graduated from Howard. It was spring 06, and I had an internship at WPGC, and I was under Adimu who did the afternoons. Adimu was like, he loved me. He thought I could do something. He thought I was going to make it in radio, but he was like, I'm going to put you under DJ Flex, who was doing nights at the time, Flex and Rain. And so he's like, Flex is going to teach you the game. And sure enough, DJ Flex teaches me the game because he was the godfather of PGC, godfather of the DMV, and especially within the go-go world. Right. Whatever he said goes, you know, and he has so much influence, and he was such a, and still is, he was just such a cheerleader of like the culture, like and the go-go going, and he was even working with different artists. I think he started to see hip-hop coming up, and it's funny because, yes, Sexy Ladies was in rotation, and again, I'm still like an intern about to graduate. And then next thing I know, Dig Dug is in rotation. Yeah. Which was really interesting that you had Sexy Ladies and Dig Dug in rotation.
And that was what we figured out. We figured out how to make the marriage between hip hop and go-go. Right. UCB, Wale, and Best Kept Secret, which was Tone and Craig, the producers. We knew how to make it into records now. Which, like I was telling you earlier, a lot of people don't know how to condense the grooves or the sound and make it palatable, like in a 3 to 4 minute, you know, thing. Because, and then what also helped is, and what hurts a lot of go-go bands is, you have people on the front line, but they're not talented. They don't like you. You have to ask yourself when you're in a band, can you take me off the stage and put me in the booth with other rappers that just rap or just other hip hop artists? Will I be able to hold my own? No, a lot of them won't. You have to take a singer off the stage from the Go-Go group band and put them in a room with other singers or R&B artists or writers. And will I be able to hold my own without this band behind me, without this machine? A lot of them won't. So a lot of the time, I think the problem with a lot of go-go bands is you're only going to go as far as those people on that mic and that front line take you. That was something that we already had good rappers, but Wale was like an MC, like a hip hop artist. So for him to have the ability that he had in hip hop and to be able to have a group like ours behind him, he was articulate enough to be able to take that and show it and interpret it. Yeah. Outside of the area.
Let me ask you this, Trey. Like when Kenny Burns brings Wale to you and says, I have a rapper from the DMV, like what was your thought initially as far as, cause a lot of people don't realize, like I always say, we weren't really checking for rap or hip hop like that until like I didn't see it the way it is today.
For me and Rock Mikey, we always recorded outside of Go-Go. Like Mike was always a rapper, so we was recording hip hop songs, rap songs, all the years that we had UCB. They just wasn't coming to the light of day. Right. It was for other rappers in the area and, people we was working with. And then we had, Section 8 Mob who laid a lot of the blueprint down for us early. Then we had Booby and them, the Oi Boys, who definitely laid a good framework for the rappers and hip hop artists from DC. They just didn't reach that level. You know what I mean? So I felt like when I heard Wale and he was talking about tennis shoes and college, I said he has to be the first one. Okay. Because I knew our history of our city. It was too like we was known for murder and drugs in DC. That was what the stigma was. And I know that they're not gonna let that, the way that they're trying to change the city and with the gentrification, how is it gonna look if that's your ambassador or your representative, your first big one, you talking about that talk, that the life that we grew up around, the environment that we saw growing up? It's gonna have to be somebody that's not talking about that. That's what I always strongly felt. And I felt like he was the one. And I felt like with what we had going on, being banned from everywhere, this would have been perfect for us to clean up our image, or, let's help this kid that's talking about sneakers and school and stuff like that, to try to get that stigma that we had away from us. Wow.
And the rest is kind of history. As you saw him grow, because again, it was like Dig Dug gets on, and then we do start seeing him kind of flirting around, talking with like JAYZ and the crew. So did it feel like deja vu when Roc-A-Fella and Roc Nation and all that starts coming back around?
That's crazy. I've never even said nothing to Jay about that. About that pad. Like when we used to be around Jay or be on the Blueprint 3 tour and all that, I never even mentioned that. But first he signed, Mark Ronson found him. Signed to Mark Ronson, and him and Kenny kind of split. They split. But we decided to keep helping Wale. So Mark Ronson found him, and he signed a deal with Mark Ronson. And Mark Ronson's partner at the time was Rich Kleiman, who now is Kevin Durant's partner, well, agent and partner. But Rich and Mark kind of like merged their company in with Jay in the beginning. Like, so Roc Nation early days, one of the home studios was Mark and Rich's studio. So like that's how Wale was on the initial roster of Roc Nation. Gotcha. They just dissolved Lido Records, and it just went into Roc Nation.
Did you feel like you could get like just working with Wale? Did you feel like, or were you interested at that point in a record deal as well for the band,
See,
or were you kind of more business oriented, like just on a different wave?
See, what it was UCB was always supposed to spin off from Wale.
Okay.
Wale used to say, "I'm taking y'all on the road because we put Wale's shows together, the showcases and stuff that got him signed." The thing was, it was this new kid from DC who had this new sound that was called Gogo, and they had this crazy band, a crazy live performance because no rappers was using bands.
They wasn't doing live performance.
So he felt like since we helped him get his deal, that he wanted to return the favor and take us on the road and help people connect the dots because they knew the song, but they didn't know who the group was.
Mm-hmm.
So he also wanted to continue, doing the music direction and putting his shows together. So when we used to go on the road. The plan was to put Wale's record out, and then UCB would spin off. During that process, it was a lot of Wale was getting a lot of attention that people here weren't used to. So they thought he was further cemented in the game than he really was. They thought he could do more things and should have been doing things faster, even internally in UCB. And I'm like, yo, he not even there yet. You know what I mean? Like, so it kind of imploded. That's how UCB broke up. We broke up in 2010, 11. The beginning of 2011, but it had already been happening in 2010. You know what I mean? So at that time, I haven't got to mention, in the earlier UCB days, I had solo deals offered to me to leave UCB, but they didn't know that. But I had an offer from Universal, Koch. I had a few different ones to have a solo career, but I never had those type of goals. Like,
really, even with them type of deals being on the table, this sounds like New Edition, Ralph.
Oh, it was very.
You can relate.
Man, when I first saw that, I was like, because I didn't even tell. Only people that knew was my manager.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And some of the other people in the area that, that was a little older than us, they knew because they the ones that was reaching out because they had the people, coming to me. But I didn't want to create no dissension in the group. You know what I mean? That's why I never said that until years later. But
looking back, would you have done it? Like, if you could?
I used to think that, damn, if I knew we was going to break up and I should have took those opportunities. Like, but... that wasn't really. I didn't begin this like trying to be like no crooner or no R&B singer. We just was, in a group and a band. So, I had turned down those deals, and when we broke up, I used to still tour with Wale with just me, him, and the DJ when the band couldn't go, because a lot of the time they couldn't. It was always a fight as far as like affording to take a band. But what our argument used to always be was you Wale's management, you counted on us to help you break him. You know what I'm saying? You counted on us to do a lot of things. This was a group that already was together for 10 plus years. You can't treat us the same way you would somebody like a J. Cole who established his career on his own, then went and handpicked people and put a band together after that. They had no hand in helping him get into his situation. Whereas though with Wale, he came in and had an already existing, group that had it. That's why it was so easy for him. Like, Wale didn't rehearse like that with us. Where I'm seeing other artists go and they rehearsing with their group for 3 months. Wale might come for like a couple hours.
Yeah. And
people don't even know. Like, because we were already a group for 10 plus years and we knew what we were, was doing and had a chemistry. So I think that Wale's management and the people that was handling his business, I don't think they understood that value wise. They kind of did, but then they kind of, you know, didn't. Like, bro, we going back and forth about a number to take the band here and there in certain places. We could sit at home and do that for this number.
Yeah.
What you would go spend on trying to find other guys, and what you're gonna have to spend on the rehearsing to even get them up to par to be able to even do this for months is gonna be way more than just, you know what I'm saying? So that was a lot going on, and Wale was oblivious to. He didn't know about a lot of that, and then I think the fact that a lot of us, the whole band didn't go. It was only certain essential people for a lot of stuff that he did. But what it was doing was branding the group.
Yeah, yeah.
It was setting the stage for us to come and do our own thing.
Yeah.
And that was a favor from Wale and Roc Nation and the management. They didn't have to put our name on those marquees. It was always Wale featuring the legendary UCB. Whereas though you got some guys here looking like, man, they using our name. Like, dummy, that's a good thing. That you can't pay for that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
right, your name is all over.
Yeah, so it was a lot of stuff like that going on, and I was in the middle of a lot of it, and I just started to get tired of it. And then, you know, we had came off the road one year, and they said I had got a call from Mike, and he said that the band quit, and I was lost. And this was after Wale's first album, which didn't do what it was supposed to do. So again, he wasn't cemented like people here thought he was. Right. Because they had never seen no success like that. They thought he could do more. And he used to get a lot of the bad flack, like he don't do this, he don't do that. But he wasn't even really in himself. It was just y'all weren't used to that type of success. So you thought he was. Right. So that's when that happened, you know, I just ended up, we helped Wale get a situation with Maybach by doing his mixtape, a couple of his mixtapes with my company BOA with Greg and Mo, and that helped him land a situation with Ross, and then he ended up getting the deal at Warner, moved to Atlanta to record Ambition. So he wanted us to come. Wanted me and a couple of the guys to come help him with Ambition. And I had went down to Atlanta in like July 5th, the day after 4th of July, just to stay for a couple of weeks. I just never came back. Really? And we worked on Ambition, and which was like it was just instinct. Like I lost my band, this happened, that happened. So then with that project, I was nominated for a Grammy.
Wow.
Contribution to Lotus Flower Bomb. So yeah, that was big.
What? So you have a producer cred for Lotus Flower Bomb?
Writing and vocal. I'm singing on there. I'm doing all the background vocals.
You are doing the background. Did you wrote the hook for it?
Of it? I wrote on a lot of on the record. Okay. Like worked with Miguel and Sam Duke and Wale.
So you got a Grammy nom for that.
Yeah, which a lot of people don't even talk about here. Like I remember somebody was nominated a couple years ago, and they was acting like that was the first. I'm like, what, they forgot about us taking Meek Mill on the red carpet when Meek was just coming up? We had an extra ticket, and we called Meek and said, we're gonna take you. Like, what everybody forgot about that in 2012 or 13? I just be like, all right, whatever.
Well, you know, when time goes by, especially when there's so much time in between, I think sometimes it's like when you do finally get another Grammy nomination or whatever, it becomes a big deal. You know, it's like, oh man, you know, we haven't seen this in a while. And for some people, especially,
I think it was for Crew.
Yeah, it was definitely Crew.
I think it was for
Gold Link and them. Yep.
Yeah, they was acting like that had never been done before or something.
I mean. I don't know if they was acting like it had never been done.
People was on the internet, that's what they was saying. And then you had like Greg and some other people that started throwing up out the pictures. Like, which I forgot. We was
Well, Trey, let me ask you this, because we got to get ready to wrap, man. You've given us so much insight that I think is important. Our platform, AMP, is really about giving artists that are from this area a different type of visual, a different type of exposure. And again, like you said, one of the big important things is like getting outside of your audience that you're constantly marketing yourself to. That's good, but at some point you want to get on other platforms. And what I love about Amped is it's a platform of discovery, right? Like we've put so many different types of artists on there that there's so many different types of followers. So you don't just have this one group of people watching. You got R&B lovers on there, you've got Afro beats lovers on there, and then we put up we'll put up a Q to Fool, or we'll put up Big Flock, and so it's all these different artists that are watching, or Ari Lennox. We've had YBN Corday kind of give his State of the Union, as far as his life in the DMV and the music and whatnot. So again, this is a platform where I think it's about discovery, but it's also about sharing our stories and learning from each other. So again, you've been by Wale's side. You continue to be by Wale's side all these years in. What advice and what perspective can you give to artists that you're seeing, what you're seeing coming out of this area that you want us to know?
First thing I say is they had to have a little more humility.
Okay.
I mean, I know when you record, you have to have that ego, but put that shit aside when you get to start being in this business, because you got to start being real with yourself and say, what have I done to even feel like to be able to have this type of like air in my chest? Have you sold out any venues here in your own city? Because a lot of people are going to look and say, well, if you from the city and you the hottest thing, they're going to look at your ticket numbers. Some of these dudes can't even sell 200 tickets.
Right.
And so you're not doing nothing yet. That's one. Two, this is the relationship business. I know it's called the music business, but this is the relationship business. If you don't have good relationships and you're not a likable person, it's going to be difficult for you. Very difficult for you. Then the other thing I would say is just work on your craft and to not be a follower. A lot of people, they get lucky, but a lot of them don't have the years in, or that thing that they really like mastered the craft of what they do. They just get lucky because they want to get involved because they like it. You know what I mean? But I'm talking from subject matter to skill to all of that, like content, just to, like, I would say that dive and submerge yourself into what you do and into your craft. You'll be able to be in the business. One thing I learned from Kenny, I asked him, Kenny, how do you guarantee to break into the business? He told me a long time ago, he said, one of the guaranteed ways is you just work on successful projects, regardless of what you do. Whether you write, produce, vocals, sing, whether you are featured, whatever it is, if you work on successful projects and continue to do that, that's how you build, and you basically like you end. So even like A&Rs, there was A&R and a whole bunch of projects that were successful. That's how we get to know who they are, like Puff, like your Puffs. But Kenny was like, you just have to work or be a part of successful project. So with us, we done took Gogo to David Letterman, the MTV Awards. We done tour internationally. Like, I forgot to tell you, early, even before Wale days, UCB used to go to Jamaica every year and record, and we used to go to other cities and just perform. Like, we performed at the Roy Jones after party back in like 2003 or 4. In Vegas.
Was all this off just relationships, or how were you getting that?
And us wanting to go out and penetrate other markets and having the records to do so. Like when we used to do those colleges in the Mid-Atlantic region, Delaware State and all those homecomings, the only group they used to always get was us, because we was the only ones that could stand up against those other hip-hop acts with our own material.
Right.
Who was you gonna hire? Like, how was you gonna hire some of the other bands, and were they gonna come play the same shit that the other acts that's gonna play? That's hot. You couldn't do that. So we used to do a lot of that, but I mean, I think it set the stage. Everything we've done set the stage for my new group called The People. Mm-hmm. We'll be releasing a project soon. It's a couple of the guys that, you know, that tour Wale that was in UCB. The core of us still, you know, work together. So we have our own group called The People, and
I love it.
And I still have my my boutique, the museum, mm-hmm. in Northeast DC. So make sure everybody come and support that with my partners Greg and Mo.
We love the museum.
We the guys that bought you Fat Trail and some of your favorite Wale mixtapes with BOA. Which that was a good run, but that's a story for another day.
The story of Fat Trail.
But our BOA days,
like, or just BOA. BOA is a whole nother conversation. Yeah, that's fair. Mm-hmm. If you're down to discuss it another day, I'm down to hear. I
had to have me and Greg and Mo had to do that together.
I'll take it.
That was our company that we created together.
Can I ask you what would you say? I got a couple more questions for you. One is like, what do you think is just like, and you kind of, I think, touched on some of the misconceptions when it comes to Wale, but like you said, relationships and things are a big thing. And there are sometimes people, there are, you know, rumors that people might hear about Wale, and you've seen him with different people. But again, you've kind of been that mainstay. So what would you say is one of the more misunderstood things about him as a person and artist?
I think one of the most misunderstood things about Wale is that a lot of the time, people will hold certain things against him. With his mind, he's really not a good people person at all. Okay. So, but his mind, where somebody, where one of us might be thinking about something, his mind is not even there. He's not even here to even acknowledge or consider certain things. Mm-hmm. Now, don't get me wrong. Like we hold him accountable for certain stuff, because when he asks why this, why that, be like, because you wasn't this way or you wasn't that way. But a lot of time, his mind somewhere, whatever he doing with them words or whatever his shit is in his head, he's really like engulfed in that. And sometimes there's a lot of stuff that he don't even be thinking about or seeing or recognizing, because his mind's just somewhere else. That ain't no excuse, but I'm just saying that that's why sometimes he might got a bad rap for burning a bridge or not having a, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I would say 50% of is his fault. 50% of it is not.
Mm. Okay.
You know what I mean? That's one of the misconceptions. Two, the other misconception is, I think people think that he didn't try to do certain things. Mm. And he would try in the way that he thought he could try. Mm. Was it other ways or things that somebody could have had done, or they think that he could have had done? Yeah, but if it's him, you got to let him do his way. Like for instance, like some people, a person might need help. He might think that person needs this kind of help, and I'm going to do this, that, right?
That ain't the help I needed, sir.
Instead of, like, you know what I mean? So
I feel like that's a majority of our fights. I mean, like, I didn't ask for that.
Yeah, exactly. But that's something that he gotta grow and learn. Like, you offering this, but that's not what I need. This
I need, you know this, sir.
But then sometimes you have people that can't. You can't like complain if you don't have nothing and somebody's offering something. You have to be appreciative of that as well.
That's true.
You understand what I'm saying? So it could go both ways with a lot of stuff, and I think a lot of people feel more entitled than they do to do their own thing. Like I remember one of the problems that I used to have was people in the group and UCB back then, and people in DC used to be saying, "Trey, why you don't have this? Why you don't have that? Or why you don't?" I never asked Wale for nothing, ever. Never. Like, even when it's other people and groups come around and other little people that he be trying to help that I don't really care for, I just get out the way. And you might only see me on the stage. I don't need to be around there. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's something that he want to do.
Yeah.
That ain't my movement. I think a lot of people, they used to seeing me with him on the stage.
Yeah.
But I haven't really been like moving with Wale outside of the stage or the studio since after Ambition.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's been about 8 years. Like, he is him. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how, you know what I mean? And then there's a lot of stuff and people that he might try to help, like trying to, whatever he trying to do, I don't fuck with. So I'm not going to be around. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
that's that on that.
I come around when I'm needed at, you know, shows or studios or, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, Trey, I appreciate the time. Last question I have for you. What is your favorite UCB song to perform? And not Sexy Ladies.
Oh, wow. That's been so, I don't know.
Is there one song that just, when you perform it, you go crazy?
Nah, because we don't even really perform a lot of UCB records, but Sexy Lady, really. Like I told you, we broke up 10 years ago. So
you won't hit a little splash or like?
I mean, for the people, but for me, I like I told you earlier, Angie, like I'm so focused on what we doing now, like with the people.
Gotcha.
I just leave that where it is until if it was ever a reunion, or you know, if it's one of those moments where people just like sometimes money just play something.
Yeah.
Like he might play Splash Girl or Married to Juana.
Yeah. And trying to get Splash come around my way. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying. I mean, I made those up, so it's cool. But I always aim for more or for better. Like, we put a record out last year called No Place Like Home.
Is that the people?
Yeah, so that's my favorite record right now.
Well, how do we get the music?
We're going to be releasing something this summer. You can follow us on Instagram, The People Music, or Twitter, The People Music, and it's PPL. That's how you spell the P.
Okay. We're going to be on that, and hopefully we can get y'all to do an amp with us. That'd be cool.
Oh, for sure.
Trey. Thank you so much, man. I love you.
I love you too.
Bye.